so drastically raised some taxes and levies. I think Nairobi to be in particular. But there are some of you governors who have been very sensitive to the suffering of Kenyans. And actually down there you have adjusted a bit. I think we want to appreciate those of you who have done that, because Kenyans are hurting. Kenyans are hurting. I would like to hear your views on that also. Whether some of these taxes, levies can be dropped. On fuel alone we have like 16. Electricity we have like 8. Well, what are your views on this? Thank you.
Leader Cheriot.
You know, it will be wrong if I don't respond. The Senate has been mentioned, and sometimes adversely as a leader of the House. It will be proper for me to respond. I think I hear the discussion, and I see what Eugene is trying to say about the division, for example, in the House, because it's been a very controversial issue, and I know what governors say. But I want to say that Senate relied on the wisdom of so many things. History, resources available. You know, when I say history, for example, Chair, I know for a fact that we've held our ground sometimes in the past and they've been stalemate. And 3-4 months down the line, because county governments haven't received a share, governors themselves have gone and said, what are you guys still fighting about? Can you release that money as it is? By COG itself, and it's on record. So sometimes you wonder how difficult it is to fight and whether it is worth the eventual fight together. And when you're seated at a table, because our members of our committee consult and say, so what is it that will be more comfortable and what is available? That's what eventually gets shared out. Chair, just as a final comment, there is something that I noted, which I really wish to plead with our governors to understand, because I got this from the conversation between the chair on our side and chair on their side, and I think a few of the governors when they spoke. We all love devolution. I certainly do, and I believe that we need to support them. We need to send far more resources to our counties than we already are doing. However, I'd wish to plead with our governors not to accept the demeanor that the national government accepted many years in the past, and hence we found ourselves in the situation. Because I saw when questions are raised, our governors go on defense mode on many of these issues. When you say on-source revenue, you say, oh, on-source revenue is not supposed to fund counties. Yet we know for a fact that there are counties which, after changeover of administration, county governments are collecting almost double the amount that the previous administration used to collect in the same jurisdiction. And there are examples. Counties that used to report 400, 500, you now have a new governor in office, they're upwards of 600 and 700. Therefore, if it becomes the official position, as is being explained right now, that, you know, we cannot use it to fund operations in our counties, then even your own staff, they take that demeanor and say, anyway, it's just about funeral collections and I don't know what, yet it is a serious kitty. And the same could be said of pending bills that you spoke about and so many other pool resources. So I want to believe that much as we agree with you, your Vice Chair, that it is important to send additional resources to you, let the demeanor also change so that we know and appreciate that you also have learned from the very bad experience that our national government has set for all of us. We don't want counties to find themselves in that situation. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Let's now wind up, please.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just going to respond to Majority Leader Senate with like 3 sentences. Then I'll hand over to my colleague on my left. They've been wanting to say something on the other questions that have been overtaken. And then the Vice Chair will close on the response to your question, Honorable Amalwa, on the issue of the cost of living and all the questions that we apparently jumped. So, just to say, Chair, that yes, there are counties that have increased their revenue, some of them being some of the ones that some of us are running. But if you look at our revenue, the county of Kirinyaga, at our highest so far, we have collected 580 million. But we received in total about 5.2 billion. It used to be 4.2 for many years. And then about a year ago, now this is the second time we've gotten 5.2. And then a little from development partners. So you can see the amount of revenue and the amount required to run the county is less than 10%. And so the fact is our own source revenue was never meant to run the counties, because the devolved system of governance in Kenya is not a completely devolved system. If it was, we would be collecting pay as you earn at the counties, we would be collecting VAT, we would be collecting the housing levy at our level, and then applying that to running the county. That's how states run. And if you look at other counties with devolution, there is the mixed breed like our system, and then there is the absolute devolved system where you're completely autonomous, like even in other countries like Nigeria, where they collect the revenue and run their counties, and that's very different from what we have. So in that case, when my revenue maximum can only be about between 8 and 10% of the required revenue for the county, the national government has to supplement, and that is why there is a provision in the constitution of a minimum of 15% allocation, and it's supposed to be a minimum, not a maximum. I'll ask my colleagues on my left to please chip in where we left off.
Honorable members of the committee, the issue of the minimum 6 billion revenue for counties. There are about 7-8 counties which are the small counties, not in size but in population. For example, Lamu, we are getting about 3 billion. My cost of doing development, because of the geography, everything is sourced out of Mombasa, then to transport it to Lamu and further on to the other islands. It's very, very expensive. Not only that, what has been said earlier, the staff cost. This year we have been hit with the 1.5% housing levy. That translates to nearly 100 million shillings, which the county has to pay. And these are counties that we didn't even have, and until today we don't have county headquarters. And it's really, if things continue the way they are, these counties will not be able to survive. It's not only the geography, poverty levels across the 7 or 8 counties are very high, and most importantly, we were also left behind for all those years until 2010. Development bypassed these counties. So for all these reasons, we believe, for example, Taita, with its landscape, and it's been going through a hard time with drought. I'm sure he's envious when he sees it's raining here. It's really becoming a challenge for us to run our counties.
Thank you.
So that's something we want you
So
to
Taita gets how much, Madimis?
We are almost just on the same tune, but it's about 4 billion. But you see the topology of the area and the way it is. That's why most of the time I'm agitating for 1 vote, 1 shilling, 1 kilometer. Because right now, as it is, if we continue on the same trend, it will just be the same as Kenya and Singapore. We are at the same level. Other countries will move ahead, others will remain. Because we cannot do even a single project. As it is right now, you know, when we started 2013, the devolution was very good to all countries. Because they didn't have ECDs, we did them. Where I didn't have health centers, we did them. But alongside that, as time goes by, we had to engage staff. And where we are right now, if we just get the exchequer, from equitable share on a monthly basis, once we pay the staff What remains, even buying medicine and doing these nitty-gritties? And mind you, some of us, we are placed logistically in a very difficult area. We are not like the governor of Nairobi or let's say Mombasa, because if you call a meeting in Nairobi, and all the meetings are done either Nairobi or Mombasa, as we have to travel by road. And you know, when you are traveling by road, you have to carry all the security guards, you have to carry, it's a lot of expenses. So these are some of the issues, I think, nitty-gritties, which you should go really deep, so that these 8 counties, you should bail them out. At least minimum 6 billion, this one can do.